Who doesn't love a new motorcycle? I know I do, and I got one. It's a Honda CRF300L Rally. I took it camping for a week in BC. Let's talk about first impressions. Now, I don't have this bike set up yet. All I have on it is a luggage rack. So it's brand new and it's completely stock. And when I make comparisons of it to other machines, it'll be to a Kawasaki KLR650. That's what I normally ride. And I'll talk a little bit about why I switched from the KLR650 to the smaller 300. Actually, I guess let's address that right away. I'm 52 now, and I'm not really a very good motorcycle rider, so I crash a bunch, and I'm tired of picking up a pig of a motorcycle. Back to the CRF300. The top speed that I rode on this trip took the bike to 120 kilometers per hour on the speedometer, but it didn't feel right. I mean, it didn't feel good, but it also didn't seem correct. I'm not sure I was actually going 120 kilometers an hour when the display shows 120. Why not? Because I spent hours on a highway where the speed limit was 100 kilometers per hour, but my speedometer was reading between 110 and 115, and still every single car on the highway passed me. Either we were all on a tear that day, or my speedometer is off, or both. I'll need to calibrate that against my car or using a GPS or something. Anyway, reading 110 kilometers an hour on the speedometer felt too fast. Comfortably, I started to cruise at 99 or 100. I can do that all day, except for the seat. I need to swap out the seat. But that's also true of my KLR. The first thing I'll do on a KLR650 is I'll take out the stock seat and put on a Corbin seat. So I'll have to look around for options for the CRF. The longest day that I spent in the saddle on the CRF was about 6 hours, and that felt like watching the director's cut of the Lord of the Rings trilogy in entirety. It was a long day. Speaking of long days, I think I'm going to mount crash bars on this bike. I mean, I want crash bars less to protect the plastic and more so that I might mount some highway pegs for a few extra riding position options. Also, some crash bars would provide extra mounting options for tool rolls and stuff like that. I am planning a big trip with this bike in a year or so I'll need to make it more comfortable. If you're just doing a day trip or using it as a commuter in the city, this is less of a concern. Let's talk about the gear ratio. In the city, or just general riding on pavement, I'll often skip first gear altogether and just start off in second. I've heard people suggest changing the front sprocket to have one extra tooth, and then also adding a link to the chain. That would make the first gear a bit more usable, and it may also make the highway miles more manageable. I may try that. However, I did take this little machine onto some loose, rutted, narrow, and steep tracks in the Kootenays, and suddenly I was very happy for that short first gear. I mean, it was perfect. I'm not sure how an extra tooth on the front sprocket would do in that situation. Probably I'd just have to use the clutch a little bit more. I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem. But also, at highway speed, the current configuration for the sixth gear is already a bit high. I mean, the little engine, which only spits out about 27 horsepower, can't pull hard enough to pass in sixth gear. In fact, it can barely keep its speed. If, for example, I stand up to stretch my legs, just that extra wind resistance is enough to make the bike struggle and lose momentum. So too on hills. I found myself shifting down to fifth gear to keep pace. Would a taller gear be usable? Again, probably yes. I'm tempted to give it a try. So on long, straight stretches of highway, this machine is at capacity. It has nothing more to give, but I already expected that when I bought the bike. That's not why you buy the CRF300. You don't take it on long slogs on the Trans-Canada Highway or on interstates. It can do those miles, but that's not what it's for. Then, when I got onto slower, twisty pavement, the bike was fine. It's fun to flick it through the bends, and it holds its own. Yeah, still sometimes I wished for more power, but I just found myself adjusting my expectations, and it's a fun little scooter. A quick word about fuel capacity and range. I didn't try to stretch it out. Because I was riding alone and I was not carrying extra fuel, I stopped to gas up before my fuel light ever came on. The longest I went, at highway speeds, was 285 kilometers before fueling up. According to the display on the dash, I was averaging 3.3 liters of gas for every 100 kilometers, which means I was getting about 71 miles to the gallon. Compare that to the KLR650, which may use almost twice as much fuel, depending on riding style. I guess that makes sense. Compared to the CRF, the KLR has over twice the displacement and produces almost twice as much horsepower, and it's 100 pounds heavier, more or less. Look, I'm not a statistician, I'm a YouTuber, my numbers are probably off, but the little CRF sips gas compared to the KLR, that's my point. Okay, now the good stuff. When you turn off of the pavement and get onto some gravel tracks, the CRF is in its element. Because it's so much lighter than the KLR650, I found myself nearly unbothered by the thought of tackling rough, loose tracks. I kind of didn't care if I dropped the bike because I knew that I could easily pick it up. I was going, I almost dropped my damn bike. And because I wasn't worried about a drop, I rode with greater confidence. When the bike skidded out or lost traction on the front end, it quickly recovered before I even had time to scream. I mean, it just skipped over rocks and sand. This bike gets the highest marks when the terrain gets the roughest. Now again, I'm only comparing it to the KLR, which is not known for its agility. The last time I rode a proper, performance-oriented dirt bike, they had not yet invented the cellular telephone. And I'm not an aggressive or technical rider. All I'm saying is this: the CRF inspires confidence in me on rough tracks. All right, good news, I got the place all to myself. I'm stoked about that. Yeah, the river's really high. Somebody left me some firewood all chopped up. There's no fire ban here, so I'm gonna have a nice little fire. And yeah, that CRF does the trick on this kind of terrain. Not great on the highway, of course. Every bike has some kind of compromise, and that's the compromise that this bike makes. But on these little twisty trails and gravel and loose stuff, it's great. Now to get some food in me, get the tent set up, and have a nice little fire. Oh, I gotta locate my bear spray. That's the first thing I gotta do. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel, and it's free.